Hello everybody and welcome to the second in our series of webinars running jointly with AVN. Today we're going to be looking at attracting and engaging website visitors. Be myself, Paul Morris, I'm the Head of Business Development at PracticeWeb, and I've got Alex Tucker, who is our demand generation specialist.
Good morning.
Just to let you know that the webinar today will be about half an hour long. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the question system in GoToWebinar, and we'll look to answer those questions towards the end. But feel free to pop them in as we go along. Just a quick recap on before we start then on the first webinar that we did last week. If you missed it, it's still available on AVN websites. There's a video on there. If you want the link, I can send that out later, tweet that out later on after today's webinar. But we looked at mastering the marketing plan, how to create a 7-page marketing document. Just a quick recap of what those pages were. Page 1 we looked at was the SWOT. We kind of detailed all your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. We looked at marketing goals, what you wanted to achieve, assessing those against your current capabilities, being honest about what capabilities you have and making sure that you didn't take on too much, but on the other hand as well, if you had a lot of capacity, that you actually cut your cloth accordingly and stretched your marketing team if you have one. Marketing research, making sure that you talk to your clients, talk to your prospects, talk to your staff, and understand why people use you.
We'll refer back to that a little bit today, I think.
We will do, yeah. The messaging, and articulating what this is about your firm, what your USPs are, why people would come to use you, the tactics, the various channels that you can use to market your practice, and then finally we looked at KPIs and measuring the performance of your marketing activities.
Okay, so before we jump into tactics for engaging visitors and driving web traffic, I think it's quite important to understand actually how much web traffic we need. Quite commonly hear business owners say that it's important to drive more web traffic, and that people are looking for solutions to do that. But in order to understand how much time, effort, budget we invest into this kind of activity, it's important to work out actually what are we trying to achieve. So whenever I work on a demand generation program, first thing I look at is actually what the sales that are required. What's the value of business that we're looking to get out of any particular activity or out of a marketing program in general, and then think about how many new clients we need to achieve that, and then work out some conversion rates. So how many proposals do we need to put out there in order to win that number of new clients? And what's our conversion rate from visitor to inquiry? So it's not always easy from a standing start to understand or to know what these numbers are, what these conversion rates are for any given business. So some benchmarks for professional services in general are that we, as an industry, turn 10% of web visits into inquiries. Of those, we convert roughly 50% into proposals, and our win rate on proposals is around about 30%. This will be different for your business. It will be different for our business, but
yeah,
there's a benchmark there as a starting point, which can be quite useful. And so what that means is we need 60 plus web visitors for each new client. There's some things we need to kind of be slightly wary of when we talk about this, and those are that visits and visitors are not the same. So people will come to your website sometimes multiple times
Yeah,
before
definitely.
they are ready to make any kind of inquiry or subscribe to updates or anything like that, and that we still need our existing clients to visit our website, and they will come to our websites to look for information, to answer questions, and sometimes just to keep up to date with business news and things like that. So actually that number needs to be inflated somewhat, and again that will vary slightly from business to business, but as you progress with your marketing activity, you should get a better feel for
And
your
Alex,
individual business.
Alex, those people who use Google Analytics, with this is the number really to kind of keep an eye on is the unique visitors that it's telling them. I mean, is that really where they're going to be getting that?
It is,
data?
and you do need to look at that over a sensible period of time.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
if you look at the unique visitors today, there's something of an anomaly in web analytics, where if you look at the number of unique visits you have today and the number of unique visits you have tomorrow, and then look at the total of 2 days, the numbers won't add up.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is you'll have unique visitors on one day who come back the following day. If you look at a single day in isolation or even a single week,
Yes.
those people count as unique in that time period.
Yeah.
They in fact come back.
So it's important, as always, to kind of when you're looking at stats, to make sure that you're looking at trends over a length of time.
Absolutely needs
Yeah.
to be statistically valid period of time. So the first thing something else we need to be sort of fairly confident of is that we know our audience, that we understand who it is we're trying to attract. We covered this a little bit in the marketing planning webinar last week, but something that's important to have is a client profile, so we understand exactly who it is we're trying to attract in this case.
Yeah, it's important that the client profile is complete, because what we need to know is where these people hang out, what kind of information we want from them. We've actually got a template that we offer freely out there that we can tweet about it or put a link out to it, that you can download, and it's just a sheet that you can fill in the information on, and it's quite possible that you may need to create more than one client profile depending on the nature of your business. It's unlikely that you just have one perfect client type.
So the questions we need to ask when we're going through this profiling exercise include, what are our ideal clients' motivations? What kind of problems are they trying to solve, both internally within their business, but also for their clients? Is the web visitor that we're trying to attract a decision maker, an influencer, a researcher within their business, if it's a business? And although the conversations we want to have are with decision makers, often we need to engage all of these other types of people within a business as well. How fluent are they in our business? So in the case of an accountant, are the people visiting your website conversant with financial terms? Do they understand accountancy? Or are they looking for, are they people who don't really know what they're looking for and need a bit of a helping hand?
That's it, 'cause I suppose the kind of things you talk about and the tone of voice would be very different to a financial director or managing director of a limited company as opposed to a contractor or something like that.
Yeah, and what we mean by what language do they speak is not English or French, but do they have a handle on the technical terms? Do they understand maybe some of the industry jargon that we might be tempted to use? Do we need to be very plain English and straightforward? And importantly, where do they look for information online, and also where do they network online? And those are all things that need to be covered in that client profile.
Yeah.
And we covered off in the last section. I think we showed some research that showed the impact of having having marketing research on growth and profitability, and it's quite positive. Once we start to execute marketing, we'll actually see that it does have an impact on things like conversion rates and people's propensity to get in contact with us.
I think it's important to remember here that you're painting a picture of a person, not describing an organisation. It's the individuals that we're most interested in, and I don't think the importance of going through this process can be stressed enough, because it's this exercise that will determine what you talk about, how you talk about it, and where you talk about it. You know, the channels that you use, because you'll have done all of the research and analysis, and it will really give you the grounding to make sure that you're getting the most amount of your marketing. It can really help to take a lot of the guesswork out of it.
Absolutely, and base this on insight rather than instinct. So go and speak to real clients and find out how they came to be clients, and what were the influencing factors and how they found out about you, if you possibly can. So before we talk about driving traffic, let's have a look at how we engage visitors on the web, so that when they arrive, we're ready for them effectively. We would broadly assume that that any web visitor that arrives on our website fits into one of three stages of the buying process, and those stages are people who are ready to buy a product or a service, people who know they probably need or want a product or service, but don't really have a project or a timeline or authority or budget at the moment, and those are the people in the middle of the funnel. And the people right at the top of the funnel could be people who actually don't know, they haven't felt any pain, they don't, they may be looking for news, kicking the tires, just looking for a piece of information, don't actually know that they need a service. And there are different levels of, different types of content that work at each stage of that process, and also a different level of urgency with which we need to treat those visitors and prospects. And so the content that we need to provide needs to address each stage of this cycle, and that's not necessarily on the same page each time. So don't worry too much about trying to cover all the bases at once. But if somebody doesn't know they have a problem, haven't felt the pain, the content we provide needs to make it easier for them to do their jobs, and that will keep them engaged and keep coming back.
That can be things like guides, white papers, webinars even.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then calls to action will push people into the next stage of the buying cycle, so we start to build that relationship. For people who maybe have felt some pain, understand they have a problem, and would like a solution, but don't necessarily have the budget, timeline, or the immediate impetus to act, then social proof is the key driver to move them on to the next stage of the buying cycle, and we'll cover that in a lot more detail next week when we talk about conversion, talk about how we drive more leads and sales from our websites. And then the final point where people are effectively shopping. We say sell here because it fits in the pyramid, but effectively the content needs to prove the value of your individual organisation, and that's all about going back to those to the messaging that we crafted in the marketing plan in the last session, and talking about USPs and what makes us different and why our clients choose us.
We've got here a diagram, and this is something that Practice Web have used for a number of years, and in fact has been kind of written in as automatic into our landscape content management system, which actually runs AVM websites as well. And this shows you the link between the contents the different types of content on your website and on an individual web page. So what we want to do is try and eliminate dead ends within the website. Dead end is really an opportunity for the client to either go back to Google or to look at a competitor's website. What we want to do is as we draw them into the website, we want to offer them opportunities to explore further. We need to make sure that content is answering the right questions, answering the questions that they have when they came to the website. We want to provide them with supporting material. Now, that supporting material could be downloads, it could be case studies, again it could be the aforementioned guides and white papers, or getting people to sign up to a webinar. And we've got the calls to actions as well. So calls to action being contact details, telephone numbers. So every aspect in the within the buying cycle that someone could be in is in some way, shape, or form we're covering off here, because it's somebody could go through that complete journey on the website, but I think, as Alex said earlier on, it's more likely that someone will repeat visiting your website, and so you kind of need to keep capturing them and keep pushing them along, helping them along that sales cycle.
Absolutely. And the anatomy of that on an example of a web page is right here. So you can see, this is an example of a Q&A or an FAQ web page, and the main body of the page in the middle provides the content which answers the right questions, and then there are supporting resources which are on the left-hand side, our clients and how we work, which support that message, and then there are calls to action which are quite bold and clear below the main content of the web page. And so from a usability point of view, this web page is working quite well. Aesthetically, web pages can have lots of different looks and feels that will still address those three things that all business web pages really should do.
Absolutely, it's not, yes, and I think from a if you kind of sort of ignore the aesthetics for one moment and just look at the components that make up this web page, as Alex has said, you've got the content, you've got the social proof and down the left-hand side, and then you've got those calls to action. And so it's this web page is designed to answer the question and then funnel people on to the next step.
Okay, so in all of this, one of the biggest challenges that people can face is actually having the time, the energy, the resource to pull content together. I think the AVN website and marketing bundle actually provides a lot of content.
It does, yeah. I mean, it obviously comes with the practice web guides, which using that sort of triangle of usability theory that we looked at earlier on, the content management system has that designed in from the ground up. So when you get one of those websites, it's inbuilt into it automatically, and the website owners don't actually have to do anything with it.
But I firmly believe that there's a lot of content that exists in every business, and especially actually in accountancy businesses where partners have a lot of knowledge and a lot of value to add, and it can be quite difficult and time consuming to draw that out. So one of the things that I've talked to a lot of people about is repurposing and upcycling content. And so if you can find the PowerPoint presentations and some of the emails that have been sent to clients that have really worked well and really helped clients to solve problems, it's quite simple quite a simple exercise to turn those, to take those presentations and those messages and turn them into a piece of web content or a written guide which you could put on your website. Each page of that written guide could also become blog post which supports the guide, and that can save a lot of time and effort.
And with through AVM websites, we're actually offering AVM members the Business and Tax Pack, and the Business and Tax Pack is absolutely perfect for this whole kind of repurposing trick. You get the PDFs, perfect. You can use those in the general way you would by emailing them out to clients, printing them off, etc. But you also get the Word documents, which you can then repurpose as news articles, blog posts, you name it really, and that can either go onto your own website, or you could send that out, put that out as posts on other people's websites and create articles about it.
Absolutely, and if you can add your own opinion or your own tone of voice to that, then all the better. So hopefully there's some practical ways that we can make our websites, sure that our websites are engaging to our particular target market. So now we're ready to take a look at some practical steps to actually driving those visitors who are our ideal clients to our websites, to the right parts of our websites. So quite a lot of our clients talk to us about social marketing, and in a very simplified way, we would recommend that your website and your blog is the kind of hub of any social marketing. So you'll find that some people are very focused on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or other social media channels, but those really shouldn't exist in a vacuum. They're really about extending the reach of your own website as a hub of information. So focus on ensuring that quality, relevant content that's produced for your client profile is there in the hub of your social marketing machine, if you like, and then just use those channels to extend the reach for that content.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I would say is, I know people can be a little sceptical of social media, but if you can put the time towards it, I can't tell you how much benefit you'll get from it. I think you would see a significant uplift in things like traffic to your website, the search, the position of your website in Google or other search engines results listings. It's phenomenal actually if you're kind of taking in all of these aspects as improving your web presence through all of these different channels. The website does get a significant uplift.
Yeah. So the things you're going to want to really do, and these rules can apply whether you're a social media manager in a huge firm or whether you're somebody who's just trying to dedicate an hour a day or a few minutes a day to using social media for marketing in some way. But it's always really important to come back to that client profile. That should help you with your message, but also to understand which networks are your ideal clients using, and focus on those, and to not have any wastage of your time on a network where your clients actually aren't looking for information. Yeah. Sometimes you may have a profile that's a hygiene factor, and that's okay, but that shouldn't take up a lot of your time. You really should focus on those places where your clients are, and that could be where they market their businesses as well. To target as far as you can. Sometimes this can be quite difficult with social media, but owning groups or participating in groups can be a very useful way of making sure you get the right message to the right people. And if you are using Twitter as part of your marketing mix, then it can be very useful to make lists on Twitter, while your messages and your posts will still be public across all of those lists. It helps us just to refine the message and make sure that it's relevant to our clients, and also that we're able to view what our specific areas of interest are talking about at any given time. Remember that it's social. People don't go to social networks expecting a sales pitch, and largely they shouldn't get one. However, we're all in business to grow our businesses generally, and something that can help you to find a balance of content on social media is something called the 631 rule. And this is something that was thought up by Guy Kawasaki, and is a very useful ratio to follow. And Guy said that for every 10 posts on a social network, no matter how frequently you post, 6 of your posts should be what he called curated content. And so that means sharing things that other people have posted that support your point of view or your message or your calls, whatever it is that you're that you're trying to get across, whatever your cause is. That 3 of those 10 tweets should be original content. Typically, that could be blog posts, could be guides, could be. I would include the ABN Practice Web Publishing content and the content on those websites in that, because it's your branded material which exists on your website. And that leaves one social post for what he called shameless self-promotion, but I'm going to call it proving value. So there's one. So 60% is kind of engaging socially with other people whose worldview or view of business supports your own. 3% is kind of leadership in a way of posting original content, and then there's there's 10% of your posts remaining to actually talk about the value of your own firm and why people should choose you. So next we're going to take a look at Google. I think we may be legally obliged to say that other search engines do exist, but when you look at the traffic sources for your website, I'm sure you're going to see that Google delivers far more traffic and has far more search volume than any of the others right now. So some practical things that anyone can do with their website to kind of make sure that at least the hygiene factors are taken care of and that you're performing as well as you can be with search engines. To make sure you're using keywords naturally, and that can be achieved again by coming back to your client profile and making sure that actually you're writing articles and writing web content that's useful for your clients. That will help you to. Google's objective is always to deliver what's good for the person who's searching. They don't care about businesses, they care about people entering questions into a search engine. To make sure that your page titles are relevant and that they're unique within your website, so that each page has a different title that's relevant to the content. That you have meta descriptions. You should be able to easily find and edit what's the meta description, and the meta description is the description that Google places below the name of your website in search results. If you don't know how to do this, then speak to your web builder or website developer, and they should be able to help you find that very easily. Websites should be properly structured so that they are easy. If they're easy for the human visitor to explore and to navigate their way around, and they make sense, then they're also easy for Google, for Google's software to explore and to crawl and to index. And so that's really important. Use unique original content throughout your website where there's shared content. So if you're using a publishing content, it should be then there need to be some signals there to Google that's what it is, because they will punish plagiarism. You should have alt text for images. So and again, your website builder should be able to help you to do this. It should be fairly easy to put descriptive image text into your website. This is good for accessibility as well as for search engines, because software can't see images, software only sees text. So the and the alt text should describe the image. Don't try and stuff keywords in. Google will realize it, as well as visually impaired people who use software to look at websites will also be quite confused by that. And the most important thing, the one thing that Google's looking to achieve is relevance. They will, their aim in life is to deliver the most relevant results for every search. And so by being relevant to our client profile, we should succeed in appearing not just in search results that reflect what we do, but the things that our clients are actually searching for, and that's the most important thing.
Taking that advice of being relevant will see you'll never be affected by a Google algorithm update. You will never be penalised by changing the way Google categorises its search results. If you follow that advice, and you are relevant to your target audience.
Absolutely, because what we're doing is we're trying to achieve the same thing as Google in this case, which is to appear to the right people for the right searches for the things they're looking for. Then off-site, so away from your website, there are also some things that you can do to support doing well in search engines, and these are by outreach we mean posting and getting links from relevant websites. So effectively partnering with perhaps another business locally with a similar view to your own that's non-competitive. So in our example, in the example of Practice Web, we might provide a guest blog post for AVN with a link back to our website, and Google sees that there's a connection between our businesses. AVN has good quality website, and so do we, and so that link seems natural.
So this could be other sort of professional service firms,
Could
financial advisors, financial planners,
Could be.
Legal firms even potentially.
Yeah, local industry relevant directories. So be careful with directories. If a directory looks like your client wouldn't use it, then don't list. But if there's a directory that's used either locally or within the niche industry that you're targeting, and you know that it is used by people, by your ideal client, then make sure that you are listed and that your listing is accurate and up to date and complete. Use social media. Google won't tell us how much social media or which social networks support search optimization. But we do know that social media will increase, using social media correctly will increase the number of relevant visitors to your website. It will also mean that people are more likely to link to you and to share your content, which all supports your social media effort. Use press releases, and have links in your press releases, but do this again quite naturally. So do it when there's something valid, that's newsworthy, that's useful to your clients, and publish those news releases in the most relevant places. Google Places and Google Reviews also add to the credibility of your business online, and again, this is what Google's looking for, is to assess your business in terms, or your website. Google doesn't even see us as businesses, sees us as websites, as in terms of being able to assign a quality score. So the more consistent our listings are in different areas, the better, and positive reviews will also help us in that area. And some things to look out for. Effectively, if something doesn't seem natural, Google's going to question it. And if somebody offers you something that seems if it seems like a trick, if it seems fake, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. But the things we need to avoid are what's called keyword stuffing. So if you read an article and it doesn't make sense, Google won't like that. They're looking for things that are naturally written. Hidden keywords used to be seen as a useful tactic to have white copy on a white background, and in fact it was crawled by Google at one point. Google actually is smart enough to know when we're trying to game the system, and will pick that up and punish it. Duplicate or poor quality content will also be punished. So Google sees duplicates of content across the web. It knows which was published first. So please, be careful not to duplicate
Absolutely.
your web content.
PracticeWeb has to, we obviously supply content that's shared across, technical content that's shared across all of our websites, and we have to handle that content in a very particular way to tell Google that it is syndicated out, so that our clients are not penalised for it. So that's really important.
It's an important, very important hygiene factor. Poor quality links. So you'll find, I'm sure you've had email messages from SEO agencies, quite often offshore, offering to give you hundreds of links on various websites which will get you to the top of Google. If those websites are not either local or industry relevant, or relevant to the people who you want to appear to the people who are searching for you effectively, you may see some short-term gain, but in the long term, that's likely to have a negative impact. And also, anybody who comes along trying to sell a service and guarantees to achieve anything with Google, if you don't work for Google, you can't make a guarantee. Nobody who doesn't work for Google knows how the algorithm works for sure. And because of this, all we can do is follow best practice. And use the things we do know, the things that Google does tell us are best practice, to achieve the best possible result for our clients. And because of this, absolutely anybody who says to you they will get you to the top of Google or to page 1 of Google for a fixed cost within a certain time, please do avoid, because the truth is they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and finally, when we're looking at driving visitors to our websites, let's not forget the marketing channel that has 2.9 billion user accounts is used 122 billion times per hour and is 3 times as big as Facebook and Twitter combined. Is used 100 times more than all of the search engines put together, and is more trackable than any other marketing medium, and that is email. Please don't forget to use email marketing to engage prospects. Don't ever spam. Make sure that you have an opted-in list of people who have given you permission to be in contact with you. But email really is still the most popular medium for business communications. It's how people in businesses share content with their peers and with their boss. I've never been sent a useful piece of information and tweeted it to the head of marketing to say, hey, maybe we should take a look at this. Very rarely anyway. So some best practices that we can follow when we're doing email marketing. Having permission to use email addresses is more than best practice. It's the law, and the ICO has some powers to impose some hefty fines if we do anything else. So please make sure that your database is properly maintained. Segment as far as you can, and you can do this by by the jobs that people do within their business. You can do it by the vertical or the industry or the niche that the business is in. You can segment by size of business. There are a lot of different ways to segment an email list. The more data you have, the more information you have about your prospects and your clients, the better the job we can do of doing this is. Personalize your emails. I typically will encourage people to send personal messages. Make sure that the from name is the name of a person in your business, and that the email address is a real email address for a real person, not sales at or info at email address, but a real person's email address. someone's been away from their desk for a period of time and they have 10 emails in their inbox, they take 1/3 of a second to qualify or disqualify each email that's there. One of the things they look at is the email address and who it's from. So they, the first thing they think is, do I need to take action based on this? And if it's from a non-human email address, they'll delete without reading. Use clear, non-salesy, jargon-free language in your emails. Again, people scan before they read in depth, and if that doesn't make sense, something doesn't make sense to them, they'll be put off from taking any further action. Make sure that your emails work for mobile phones, so test them, send them to yourself and view them on whatever smartphones you have available to you. A larger and larger percentage of all our target clients are now looking at their emails on an iPad, on an iPhone, an Android phone, plethora of different devices. Important that our email works well for those. So often a plain text approach is the best way of making things work for mobile. And test to learn what works. So try different subject lines, different times of day, different calls to action within your email. Try and test only one thing at a time so that you get a true comparison between one email and the other. But when we talk about A/B testing, the best practice is to, if you have a database of 100 users, for example, to take 50% of that database, 50 users, split that in half again, so you have two groups of 25, test your hypothesis with 25 and 25, and then when you know what's the most, when you've used that test to find the most successful message, then send that to the remaining 50. So 75% of your users have had the optimized, most successful email message, and that's quite a simple thing that most people should be able to do to get better and better and better at email marketing every time we send a message out.
Yeah.
And so hopefully there's some practical things that we can take away from that. Know that AVM websites actually take care of a lot of the hygiene factors and some of the things that we've talked about today.
Absolutely, and the websites really support best practice. Everything that we've said, everything we've recommended can be easily done within a AVM website. It comes preloaded with an email marketing system through which you can segment your user database so that you're sending out the right messages to the right people, and you can track and analyze activity from those emails. You'll easily be able to upload. Documents and recycle content on those websites. It allows you to ensure that you're editing the content, which is obviously going to make it better for search engines and keeping that all up to date.
Excellent. So we've actually run over fairly considerably today, so thank you for bearing with us. If you do have any questions, we'll stay online for a few more minutes, so do use the chat. If you think of any questions after the end of the webinar, Paul will be on the end of the AVN website's Twitter account for the rest of the day.
Yep.
And other than that, I hope you will be able to join us next Wednesday for our next webinar. We'll be talking about how to convert more web visitors into leads and sales, and there's some really good practical advice that shouldn't be too technical or time-consuming, that I believe anybody can implement to increase the conversion rates for their websites. So I hope you'll be able to join us next week.
Yeah, same time. It'll be 12 o'clock midday next Wednesday, and we will. The link is on the AVN websites. We'll also be tweeting it out across over the following week, and we'll be uploading the video of this webinar. If you would like to see it again, we'll be uploading it to AVN websites this afternoon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.